Ever listen to your favorite music and just wish you could feel it even more? Like really like feel every note.
Yeah, like on a completely different level.
Totally. And that's kind of what today's deep dive is all about. We're looking at this German thesis about how being hypnotized can actually change how we experience music.
It's a pretty wild combo, right? Music and hypnosis.
No kidding. So what exactly were these researchers trying to figure out with this thesis?
They wanted to see if being hypnotized changes how we perceive music and emotionally connect with it. Like, could it make those emotional responses even stronger? Could it make happy music even happier and sad music, even sadder?
But they basically thought hypnosis could be like a volume knob for our emotions when we listen to music.
Yeah, exactly. And they had this whole theory about how it works, something called hypofrontality.
Okay, now you're just using big words. What is that?
So basically, there's this part of your brain, the frontal lobe, and it's always analyzing, like filtering your experiences. That includes like your emotions too. And the researchers thought that hypnosis could maybe like quiet down this control center for a bit.
Okay.
And that would then lead to a way more direct and intense emotional response to the music.
So it's like our brains are usually filtering our emotions from the music,
Right.
and then hypnosis removes that filter.
That was the idea. They thought if they could relax the brain's control center, people would feel all those emotions in the music so much stronger.
Wow. So how'd they actually test that? Did they just like hypnotize some people and play whatever?
Not quite. They were much more structured about it. The research had 2 phases.
Okay, so walk us through it. What was phase 1?
So in phase 1, they took a small group, 22 people, and had them listen to 40 different pieces of music. And get this, it was all orchestral music from the 19th century.
Why so specific? The 1800s.
They wanted music that was known for like evoking really strong emotions, all those dramatic symphonies with the big highs and lows. They figured that type of music was perfect for testing their idea.
Okay, so they've got people listening to all this dramatic music. What's next? Did they just ask them how it made them feel?
Pretty much. They had them rate their emotional response after every single piece, happy, sad, angry, afraid, all that.
Could they only pick one, or could they feel like a mix?
That's a good question. They could actually rate the intensity of each emotion. So like real life, a mix of emotions.
Well, it's never really just one thing, right? Sometimes music could be happy and sad at the same time.
Right. It's complicated. Anyway, this first phase was all about getting a baseline, seeing how people react to music normally before they introduce the hypnosis.
Gotcha. Set the stage. So phase 2 is where the hypnosis kicks in, right?
Yeah, phase 2 is where it gets juicy.
Okay, tell me everything.
So they took the 10 pieces from phase 1 that were like the most positive, the happiest sounding ones, and the 10 that were the most negative. The ones that made people feel sad or angry or scared.
So the most emotionally powerful music from the first round, what then?
They got 50 new people and split them into 2 groups. One group got hypnotized and the other group just listened normally.
Okay, so one group hypnotized, one group not, both listening to the same emotionally intense music. I'm ready for this. Did the hypnotized group have those super strong emotional experiences like they thought they would?
Well, this is where things get kind of weird. The hypnotized group, they did rate the music as more positive overall.
Wait, what do you mean more positive overall?
So valence, remember how we talked about that? It's like the emotional direction of an experience. Is it good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant?
Right.
So the hypnotized group basically said the music felt more positive to them, whether the piece was supposed to be happy or sad.
Okay, I think I'm following.
But if the music felt more positive overall, wouldn't that mean they weren't as affected by the negative emotions in the sadder pieces?
Yeah, exactly. That's what was so surprising. The researchers thought hypnosis would make all the emotions stronger, the good and the bad, but it didn't really work that way. It was like the negative emotions were kind of muted for the hypnotized group. Whoa, that's wild. That kind of goes against their initial thought about hypofrontality and the brain filter, doesn't it?
Totally. And that's what makes this research so interesting. It means that hypnosis, music, and our emotions, it's all more complicated than we think. It's not just like turning the volume up or down on our feelings.
So what else could be happening? Why would hypnosis make us better at feeling the good in music, but not make the bad stuff stronger too?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And honestly, this study doesn't give us a clear answer, but it does open up some really cool paths to explore.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. Lay it on me. What are some potential explanations for these findings?
Well, one idea is that maybe hypnosis puts us in this chill, receptive state. Like maybe it makes us more open to positive emotions in general.
So it's not that we don't feel the negative stuff at all. It's just that it doesn't bother us as much.
Right. Maybe hypnosis just shifts our mood in a more positive direction. So even when the music has negative emotions in it, they don't hit us as hard.
That's fascinating. You know, when I'm stressed out, listening to upbeat music can really change my mood. Maybe it's the same kind of thing, just shifting my emotions in a more positive direction.
Maybe so. It definitely shows how much power music has over how we feel, even in subtle ways.
For sure. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
What are some other reasons why hypnosis might have this effect on how we experience emotions in music? So we know that hypnosis seems to make us feel those positive emotions in music even more, but not so much for the negative ones. But how they even measure all those emotions? Did they just ask people, so how happy are you feeling right now?
Good question, because emotions are slippery, right? But these researchers use this cool tool called the Self-Assessment Mannequin Scale, SAM, for short.
Sam. Okay. Sounds friendly enough.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's actually super visual, which is kind of cool. Instead of using words, it's all about these little cartoon figures, mannequins, that show you different emotions.
Mannequins, like the wooden figures?
Yeah, exactly. But these mannequins, they have different faces to show different emotions. So like one might be smiling for happiness, another one's frowning for sadness. And for each piece of music, the people in the study would pick the mannequin that matched how they were feeling.
So like a visual emoji board for your emotions. Pretty clever.
Right. And it's not just like happy or sad. It measures two main things about each emotion: valence and arousal. So valence is like, is the emotion positive or negative, happy versus sad? And then arousal is more about how strong the emotion is. Is it chill or is it really intense?
So if you're listening to something super upbeat and high energy, you might pick a happy mannequin with a high arousal rating. But then if it's more mellow and calm, it might be a happy mannequin but with low arousal.
Exactly. Simple, but it works, right? It helps capture all the little differences in how we feel without using complicated language, which is actually really important when you're studying hypnosis.
Yeah, totally. Makes sense to use something visual like that when people might not be thinking as clearly or be as aware of their own feelings.
For sure, it gives them a more direct way to show those emotions. And this scale, they use it in all sorts of research, not just music, like advertising, pain perception, all kinds of things.
Wow, so SAM's a big deal in emotion research. Back to the hypnosis study, though. Did they use SAM for anything else besides figuring out how the music made people feel?
They did. They actually used it to keep track of the participants' mood throughout the whole experiment.
Yeah.
Like they had them rate their mood with SAM at the beginning, middle, and end of the session.
Smart. That way they'd know for sure that any changes they saw were because of the hypnosis and not just because someone was having a good or bad day. Right?
Exactly. It's all about controlling for those extra factors that could mess with your results, and using SAM for mood was a smart way to do it.
This study. Man, fascinating hypothesis, smart design, really cool way of measuring emotions.
Yeah.
Too bad they didn't quite find what they were expecting, but hey, maybe that's the best kind of result.
Right. Sometimes we learn the most when things don't go according to plan. This study may not have proved their initial thought about hypofrontality, but it did show us something new about how hypnosis affects our experience of music. And, it opens up a whole world of new questions to explore about music, emotions, and trance states.
This whole deep dive has really got me thinking. It's crazy how much we don't know about the brain and how it all works, especially when you're talking about something as powerful as music. Have you ever noticed how differently music can hit you when you're stressed versus when you're relaxed? That right there is proof of just how connected music and our emotions really are. And who knows, maybe with a little digging we can all figure out how to use music to make ourselves feel better. Thanks for geeking out with us on this deep dive into the world of music and hypnosis. Catch you next time.